Joining us now is Associated Electric Cooperative CEO David Tudor. David, thanks for being with us today. Here's my question for you. Are we going to see blackouts this summer? And if so, where have we gotten to that point?
Well, first of all, no one knows whether we'll see blackouts this summer or not, but it's certainly possible, and it's certainly more possible this summer than it has been in the past. It's scary because you don't know where it might happen, and we don't know how many lives might be lost if it does happen.
What are the circumstances under which you'd expect to see blackouts this summer? In other words, if this happens, blackouts are on their way.
Well, it's a combination of the weather, obviously, but also not all power plants are online and running at the same time. And in fact, many times, if you think about a wind resource, if the wind's not blowing, you won't have as much wind. If you have an overcast day, you won't have as much solar. Coal plants, natural gas plants, hydro plants all have planned maintenance, and they have outages. So it'd be a combination of weather and, frankly, a shortage of generation of some kind for a prolonged period of time, say 4 or 5 days.
What then does a responsible, reliable transition to a cleaner grid look like to you?
I think it's pretty simple, is that we've got to keep what we have. We need to keep the plants we have that actually are dispatchable and available mostly around the clock until we have a viable resource that can replace them. And today, that viable resource, that technology does not exist.
David, how vulnerable are the power grids that we currently have and some of the infrastructure that's in place? Because this is not a new conversation. It's one that we've been having for years. And obviously, this administration isn't one that's invested in the existing infrastructure, opting to push green energy moving forward. But having said that, every year that passes, our systems decay. How vulnerable are we?
Well, I think we're vulnerable to a certain extent, but I would tell you the electric utilities across the United States are always upgrading their systems. And so the transmission system itself, I think, is in pretty good shape. What's at risk is actually the generation that is replacing dispatchable generation like nuclear, coal, and natural gas is intermittent. So it's not available 24/7. And many times the wind blows harder at night than it does during the day when people are not using electricity at night. So the management of a different grid where you're trying to integrate renewables in with existing fossil fuel plants is not easy. So it's a new challenge, but I would say the transmission system is today still strong.
David, it sounds to me that you're saying if we see the big push to electrify the economy the way the Biden administration is trying to, that's going to create real problems in terms of generating enough power. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. In fact, if there's about 80,000 megawatts of coal generation scheduled to retire by 2028, and there is no real replacement, no technology, and you can't build transmission that fast to absorb that gap. So we have a gap period really between now and 2028, whereas you add more renewable product to the grid and you retire existing plants that actually run 24/7, you're basically creating a supply and demand problem that can create significant reliability issues with electric service to the American people.
Wow, that's within 5 years, basically an economy to nowhere. David, we got to leave it there. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Republicans are revving up for 2024 with the summer's first big presidential event.